Everybody to our webinar, our YTRI hosted webinar today. My name is Jason Johnson. Really excited to be here. I'm really excited. This one has come together really fun and got some great panelists with us. And I just am thrilled to be part of this process and to be able to connect with the organization that got me in touch with our panelists today. So we're going to be highlighting some discussions around some really important leadership topics, and we're connecting with good friends through the NAEA, National Alternative Education Association. And this is our fourth, I think, in a series that we've been doing over the last year, which has just been awesome to be a part of. So a couple quick notes on the webinar layout and kind of structure that we follow for our new friends that may be here. So we'll go for about an hour today. This is a webinar link, which means that myself and the other two panelists, we're the only ones with cameras and mics on. For all other engagement and interaction, we'll be leaning on the chat. We have a live chat for this. And so it is helpful if you're willing to adjust your chat settings so that you're sharing comments with everybody. The way to check that is open up your chat tool, and where you would normally type in a message, right above where you would type in that message, there's a little drop-down menu. It says to, and then there's a little drop-down menu. If that does not say to everyone, then your comments can't be seen by everybody. If it says to hosts and panelists or to a specific name, it won't get to everybody. So if you're willing, make the adjustment so that you're sharing comments with everyone. And then after you've made that adjustment, go ahead and type into the chat after you've made that adjustment. Type into the chat an emoji that expresses how you are feeling at this moment in the second week of December, getting ready for a holiday break and trying to make it to that next break. So type into the chat an emoji, letting us all see how you're feeling right now. We are definitely seeing all the emotions. And as a reminder, if it says you're sharing that only with hosts and panelists, then only the panelists can see your comments. So adjust that over to everyone if willing. Okay. Well, great. Thank you for making that adjustment. This is, as I mentioned, one of a series of our YTRI webinars. So I represent the YTRI organization. We've been around for about 20 years. We specialize in helping people teach and deliver the skills and sources of resilience. And I come from the world of public ed. I'll introduce myself a little more formally here in just a second. But we've been doing these since 2020. Is that accurate? I think that is accurate. And these webinars have just kind of taken on a life of their own, where it's become a really great space to bring on experts and thought leaders from throughout the country that have some really important insight that we're very excited to be able to share and have discussions around topics that typically intersect a little bit with the world of resilience, but also highlight some of the exceptional work and experience that our panelists always bring to the table. So that's the plan today. And as I mentioned, we'll try to go around about an hour. So let me start by introducing our subject, and then I'll introduce our panelists. The title for today's webinar is Leading with Purpose, Fostering Resilience and Transforming School Culture. And I am thrilled to have some real experts in this field on with us today. And as I mentioned before, this has come from a relationship that we have with the National Alternative Education Association, the NAEA, which is doing incredible work. And I hope our panelists towards the end will promote it and talk a little bit more about that. But it's an incredible organization. Our alternative educators and schools throughout the country are doing some of the most important work when it comes to working with students that might be described as challenging to work with. And there is a lot that all educators can learn from them. So I'm really thrilled to be able to give a platform to the work that they've been doing. So with that, let me introduce our esteemed panelists. First, we have Dr. Cynthia Freeman Smalls. Dr. Smalls is the NAEA Region 4 Director, as well as the Assistant Principal of Perry Career Academy. Dr. Smalls has over 19 years of experience in alternative education. She's a leader in implementing innovative programs that have consistently increased graduation rates while addressing students' academic and emotional needs. Welcome, Dr. Smalls. We are thrilled to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Next, we have Lamar Thomas. Lamar is the principal of Delta Innovative School and vice president of the Georgia Association of Alternative Education. Lamar has transformed his school into a Leader in Me institution with an award-winning graduation rate. He brings 2 decades of leadership experience in education and coaching, emphasizing hope and success for non-traditional students. And I have it on good authority. He also has a career as perhaps as a football coach that he brings some great passion in as well. Lamar, welcome. We're so happy to have you.
Oh man, I'm trying to figure out where you got all that stuff from, but I appreciate it, man. It was all good. I thank you.
Hey,
Glad
we
to be
do our research here. We
here.
make sure I make sure I do my homework here. Um, and then myself, I'm Jason Johnson. I represent the YTRI organization. I have been the director of training for the organization for I've been here almost 9 years now. Prior to that, I worked as a school psychologist in the world of public education. I worked in my home state of Utah for a district called Alpine School District, one of the 50 largest school districts in the country, and just absolutely feel very fortunate to be able to do what I do now, and as well as the work I did as a school psych. And this is one of my favorite things, to be able to get together with educators throughout the country and just talk shop a little bit. So that is the plan today. And I thought maybe we could start off with just having both of you introduce yourselves a little bit more formally and tell us a little bit about what your current role and kind of recent work has been. And feel free to talk about the organizations you represent, and then tell us a little bit about what you're currently focusing on, what areas are occupying your time and your attention right now. Let's start with you, Lamar, and then we'll throw it over to Dr. Smalls.
Well, I'm going to be real simple. Right now, again, my focus is always leadership, and I truly believe in the value of leadership, just because of that principle that everything rises and falls based on the level of leadership that you have in your building. So I truly believe in creating that throughout the building. So my staff, even from the cafeteria to the janitor to the maintenance person, everyone has a leadership role. Everyone has a part, now to the students, and making sure that they understand that they are leaders as well, that this is a student-led school and institution, and just kind of go through there. And as far as being the president of the Georgia Association of Alternative Education, I'm also just trying to spread that throughout, and join Dr. Freeman Smalls with the NAEA principles, and just trying to let everyone know that education can be saved. And I get it, that it's tough, that it's rough, that there's some awesome individuals in the non-traditional realm that could really help traditional schools and charter schools. So we kind of don't need to necessarily isolate and separate everyone. We can put all caring adults, loving leaders in one pocket, to really help change, not only our communities, but the world. So I'm crazy enough to believe something like that. So I really try to push that. That's why I love partnering with YTRI and NAEA, just because, getting with individuals that feel the same way I feel, really is a trampoline that really helps push us to do this work.
I love it, and your passion is certainly contagious. I'm so excited to learn more from you. And by the way, Lamar, I need to apologize. You are currently the president of the Georgia Association, correct?
Yes,
I
sir.
introduced you as vice president. I
All
missed
good.
in my homework. I missed a promotion there, and
It's a good
so
thing I don't really do titles, man. So, titles that's, my position is always helping as many people as I can help. So I don't really worry about the title. So you all right.
Thank you. Dr. Smalls.
Good afternoon. I bring you greetings from the NAEA and the great state of Georgia and the Perry Career Academy, where we say Kasirian Igera, which means, and how are the children? And I'm happy to report that the children are well and thriving. I currently serve as the assistant principal at Perry Career Academy in Clayton County Public Schools. In this role, I lead school improvement initiatives that aim at increasing graduation rates with a focus on implementing innovative strategies such as our digital learning platform and our mentor-mentee program that supports students. Over the last 4 years, these efforts has been very instrumental in helping our students achieve their high school diploma. Beyond my work at the Perry Career Academy, I am a proud member of the National Alternative Education Association, representing Region 4. My focus is to foster that growth within our region, including reestablishing the association in Alabama, South Carolina, and Mississippi, and also continuing to support those that are already in place. Additionally, I've been honored this year to be a part of the NAEA 2024 inaugural exemplary practices cohort, which aligns with my passion of ensuring that students in a non-traditional setting have an opportunity to do whatever it is they so desire and have access to a high quality learning opportunity. So with that, this year, I've stepped into another role in terms of mentoring leaders. So I'm mentoring assistant principal and sharing my experiences as a leader and my insights to support the next generation of exceptional leaders. So my work is driven by a deep commitment to ensure that students have a pathway to success regardless of their circumstances.
I love it. I'm so excited hearing this. Um, quick note question for you. So I got to make sure I have this right. I love taking notes on what my panelists say. You said the question was, and how are the children?
And how are the children?
And what was was that a Latin phrase that
No,
what was it?
Kasirian Igera means, and how are the children, is a traditional greeting that is passed between the Maasai warriors of Africa.
Oh my
And it's
goodness.
an everyday greeting that shows the high value that they place on children.
This is so good. I take so much good stuff. I need to learn more about this from you. I'm gonna be emailing you after this is over. I appreciate both of your passion and both of your acknowledgement that this really is a symbiotic relationship between all educators. Yes, we have alternative schools and alternative education, but I think that question is the question every educator is really trying to tap into. It. How are the children and how can we help them? And we're all doing this together, and there's so much to take from this. So what I wanted to start things off with to kick it off was just to set the table today. We're going to be focusing specifically on the role that leadership plays. And it's a big kind of amorphous concept. We have our leadership structures and hierarchies, but there's so much to this. And so I was wondering if you could just kind of set the foundation for us by elaborating a little bit on the role leadership plays within school culture towards anything from graduation, transition, etc. But just share a little more insight on that before we start to dig deeper. Let's start with Dr. Smalls, and then we'll go back to Lamar.
All right, thank you. And that's a great question. Leadership is the foundation of any thriving school culture. It sets the tone for collaboration, for innovation, and for to be exclusive. At the Perry Career Academy, we focus and empower all of our stakeholders and foster student success through some Key strategies. Clearly, we have to have vision and direction. We have to know where we're going. Building relationships is number 2. Our children need to know that they have an adult, someone that cares about them. And so leadership thrives upon that trusting relationship and that open communication, and promoting equity and being inclusive and advocating for equitable opportunities for our students across the board. And I spoke earlier about our mentor mentee program that we have, but part of that comes from the modeling and mentoring as well. So as a leader, we set that standard through our behavior and we guide it from there. So as the assistant principal and mentor and modeling those effective practices and prioritizing our student center decisions. So I was just having a conversation with one of our teachers this week, our mentors this week, that if you really want to get anything, definitely from me, start with the children, start with my customer, right? So the customer is the children. So yes, we want our community is very important, but our customers are the children. So we have to definitely look to them to take care of them first and empower them. And thereby all of us will be empowered by that. Our team in terms of culture, they just love on one another. And we have a wonderful climate and culture committee. And their job is to really work together to make sure that we congeal as a school and as a team. And they've done a wonderful job doing that by empowering our students, our parents, and everyone else there. And also driving continuous improvement. Strong leaders inspire innovation. We are adaptable in terms of how we implement things, because clearly we might have to pivot at some point, and we have to be able to pick up the pieces and get right back on track and get right back in line. So it is definitely a pivotal part of what it is that we do in terms of school culture. Ultimately, leadership shapes a school culture where students and staff and families thrive and contributing to a shared vision for success.
I love it. If we have time, I may circle back to that idea of the climate and culture committee. I think that's a really powerful concept that that ha- that's huge. So I made a bookmark on that. I may circle back. But Lamar, give us your thoughts on the role leadership plays in school culture.
Okay, yes, sir. I'm gonna give you the quick version now because leadership is a lot and leadership means a lot. And I really think that leadership is mainly influence. Any great leader is a person of high influence. So the level of your building or organization is only going to rise to the level of influence that your leader has. So that leader has to always foster that mentality that I have to grow. All right, because if I'm continually growing, then my organization will continue to grow. So my teachers will grow, my students will grow. So you never could be that cup that's already filled because now we don't have any space to get any more information. So just know that just know that influence is going to do the most work. So I'm trying to keep it quick though. But just make sure that influence is the key. And that covers a lot too with influence, well, how you connect with your people. And she mentioned that with relationships, connectability is a big part of influence. Confidence is, as well as just timing and just how do you manipulate and work with the people in your building. And that's going to really strive, and as the title is, that's going to create a culture that you want. And you know it's there when the leader's not in the building and you're not there, and then people, it just is something about that leader being there, whether they are in a good mood or not. And if they're not there, people could tell the aura. Just that person's there, just saying good morning, greeting students at the door, or being there to say hello to your staff as they walk in. So that leadership will influence people to do way more than their ability. And I'm sorry for all my sports references, but she mentioned it too. A great leader has to make adjustments, all right, because we may start, great coaches make adjustments. Sometimes it's halftime, or we have a play that we think is going to work and it's not working. A great leader sees that and has enough knowledge to pivot, right, and adjust and do something different. So, and that's where the influence goes. And just that leader has to be able to influence someone to go and do over and beyond their own, thought that they could do.
I love it. Do not, yeah, no apology necessary for the sports
Ah,
metaphors.
okay.
They're great. They're a great laboratory. They're a great laboratory. So that sets us up nicely, and I'm just taking note here, a couple of the questions that have come up, but it sets us up nicely for where I want to go. But I do want you to maybe expand my vision a little bit, uh, both of you. I think a lot of times maybe we limit our view of leadership to the people that have quote unquote leadership titles. And so if I don't have a leadership title in my current role or capacity, how does leadership still apply to me? And so I'm going to ask you to maybe speak on that a little bit and share some ideas, and then we'll keep building from there. Let's go, Lamar, and then we'll throw to Dr. Smalls.
Okay, that was a great resource if you haven't read the John Maxwell Laws of Leadership. They're in that book. He talks about the 5 pillars of leadership that you can go through 5 stages, and the very first stage is just having the title. And the thing that I like to harp on there is that you don't want to get stuck at that level, because if that's where you are as a leader, that people are only following you because you have that title, right? And you got to try to make a shift because you want people to follow you because they want to and not because they have to, right? And so that's where it goes with when I'm training other leaders. Just you get the title is only one part of it, and a lot of times most great leaders are already leading and influence before they get the title. So we don't chase that position.
Absolutely.
My character, right, and my purpose is going to create the position for me because I'm already doing it. And most of the time, it's contagious and people see it. So people want to take you and put you in different places so that you can influence more people because you are a leader in the classroom so I'm gonna correct you on that. So anyone that's in a position of helping people, you are a leader, whether you believe it or not. You influence young people for the good or for the bad. And we just got to influence people to continue to be leaders, take confidence and ownership in that role, and continue to move forward. And then you can move mountains. And again, those positions will come once you just continue to fulfill your passion.
I love it. Thank you. You said that was you referenced John Maxwell and Maxwell Leadership. Is that accurate?
Yes, Laws of Leadership is the book. Laws of Leadership. I didn't go through all the 5 pillars, but that first level is one because you got the position, right? Number 2 is because of the purpose, and then it goes all the way up. So I don't want to take up all the time because I can start talking. So I'll be trying to be short on what I say.
No, no apologies necessary. I love it. Dr. Smalls.
Well, leadership is a mindset, of course, and a practice that extends beyond formal titles. And so, as Mr. Thomas said, that it emphasizes influence and initiative and inspiration on every level in the school. And at the Perry Career Academy, leadership is embraced by all of us because we all have to work together uh, to get outcomes. That's what we're focused on. So with it being influence, we demonstrate that through our actions every day, such as addressing challenges, supporting our teammates, and inspiring students. And we see a lot of that throughout our school, through our mentor mentee program. We so happen to have 9 satellite locations that feeds into Perry Career Academy. So I have 9 dynamic leaders. They have to make decisions every single day. I'm only one person, so I cannot be at 9 different locations. So they have to take a hold of that and really make some decisions regarding the students that are in their care. And so we empower them to do that. We empower them through their expertise as a teacher. We empower our students to be leaders as well. As a leader, we encourage collaboration, and leadership just emerges through that teamwork. So we're contributing those ideas and problem solving and taking initiative, which we see a lot of in schools anyway. We definitely see it in our school. If you're going to be a part of our team, we need you to roll your sleeves up, right? We need all leaders. And so in creating that culture of shared responsibility, it is amazing when we're able to do that. So we can empower one another to help and support the school's mission, making a difference in the lives of students. And then what's more is that personal reflection and growth as a leader as well. That has to happen. Recognizing and developing your leadership potential through professional development that we offer. And we offer that every Friday, and mostly every Friday, so that our teachers will be able to be equipped with whatever it is that they need in order to impact students. So leadership at the PCA is a collective action. And so at any point in time, you might be called upon to lead. And that creates resilience in a thriving school and school culture, because when you never know when you're going to be called upon, you have to stay ready.
You really do. Thinking about some of the skills of resilience that we teach, and we lean on concepts like emotional regulation and self-efficacy. Those are, common ingredients of resilience, and leadership requires that. And when you're describing the culture and the makeup that you've set up, you're creating spaces where we get to learn that. Everybody gets to learn that, from student up through educator, as well as your leadership teams as well. So this is so good. I want to jump over now, to actually, let's answer a quick question. A couple questions came up. I don't know if you want to address it now, or feel free to let me know you want to push it to the end to think about it a little bit. But the question has come up about trying to help out with educators that may not buy into current culture or leadership style. How do you address some of the challenges that may come when there's a difference in style or approach within leadership that may impact buy-in from staff members? Are you interested in responding to that now, or do you want to think on it a little bit and we can circle back to it?
I'm good. I can roll. Okay. I think we've already been kind of talking about it. Again, we're talking about leadership. So the leadership and the word that I used was influence. And so now that word is strategic by using that word, is because you have to influence those people. And you're always going to have that population that kind of want to play the other side, that you got to convince in a lot of way. All right. But that's why your relationship with them, all right, will change the way that they think. And you have to start with the values. So you have to look at the values of the people that you hire. And the only way that you will know the values of the people that you hire, you got to ask them. And then you got to make sure that they understand what your values are and where you are. So one of the things that we do early in the year, is I always start pre-planning. You go out and we ask everybody, I do a value sheet, and I tell them to pick their top 5 values. And then we go down to 3, and then we have an opportunity to discuss why we chose that. And most of the time, 90% of the time, people choose family as a high value. So now we know the vocabulary that we can use throughout our year. We are family. So this is family. This is what family do. And just kind of learn how to influence them using the values. And if you get shared values, then most likely those people will leave. And if you look at the Leader in Me, Stephen Covey has the performance matrix. You got the 4 squares, and you got a person that's high value, high performance. Those people are your keepers. Then you have individuals that may be high value, low performance, and you got low performance, low value. Go through that. It's the Stephen Covey, it's the performance matrix. But the people that you got to get rid of are the people that are high performers but low values. So if those individuals do not share the values of the mission of the school, then those are the ones that's going to try to pull you down. So the first couple of strategies is identifying common values, all right, and then we're kind of where to put those individuals that don't share your values. Because if you share the same values, then most likely we have the same purpose. We can move that way.
I love it, Lamar. It was like you were just waiting for someone to ask that question. Um,
Yeah,
Yes.
Real
that's
quick
easy.
before I throw to you, Dr. Smalls, a couple people have been asking, and there's going to be so much more good information that comes out of this. I'll do my best to keep links in the chat, but we will put up contact information at the end. And if any of you want to reach out to any of our panelists, we'll have contact information so you can ask about any references as well. Dr. Smalls, any thoughts you have on addressing or handling that difference in leadership style and perhaps a lack of buy-in?
Well, definitely just being authentic. I pride myself on doing what I say I'm going to do. I walk the walk, I talk the talk. So if I said it, it's so. And so I think it's just really being authentic and really allowing people to come in and see how they can contribute, because we're moving regardless of what's happening. We're moving. We're going to continue to do the work. And we do realize that sometimes, you know, everybody won't get what it is that we do. So we want them to come in, want them to see, and we want them to see that we are authentic and really care and love one another. And so our culture, it exhibits all of that in the way that we care for one another. And hey, I would say the PCA is a special play. If you don't love us, we don't know what it is, because we have a wonderful time, and we are about our business. We're about our business of taking care of children, making sure that they go on to post-secondary, to work, to the military, or what have you. So we realize that it's not for everyone, because we do things very differently, but remaining authentic as a leader, and really that whatever it is that you say, that you walk it out as well, is very important. I really would like for people to take me at my word, and our principal as well, Dr. Young as well. Excellent leader. He makes sure that he's very empathic. He's always open. He wants to hear suggestions and ideas. And so it's very hard for me to think that someone wouldn't want to be a part of our team.
I love
I
it.
got you.
You had me as soon as you said, "And how are the children?" Like that statement alone, that value statement. I was like, I'm ready to go work with you. Let's go do the work. That's it was so powerful. Lamar.
I just one more thing to add to that. Just a strategy. And while she was talking, I was thinking about some of the strategies as well. The other one is communication. So like doing the personality test, doing some form of communication, because oftentimes um, frustration comes when the communication is not effective. So sometimes, even as a leader, you may assume you're talking to, like you assume those people hear you the way that you're putting it out. And sometimes you got to kind of learn who you're talking to, because I know that Jason may be one way. Me and Jason could talk about Spike Lee and some of the stuff, and I could reference some movies and sports. But Dr. Smalls may not want to talk about sports, so I gotta present the same value and idea to her a different way, because she really focuses on the children and about the children. So as a leader, your influence is all about how you communicate as well too. So some people just are resentful because they're not receiving the communication properly. So as a strategy, just kind of work on your personality so you'll know who you're talking to in the building.
Love it. Lamar took note of the "Do the Right Thing" poster that was on my background on the first call that we were on. Um, hey, so that's a good setup. I want to pivot over now. Lamar, I in doing the homework and in having the connections that I do, I know that you presented at the NAEA conference that was held in Arizona,
Hmm.
and you were presenting on leadership, and I have it on good authority that you had a list of some strategies that you didn't get a chance to reference or to list out in detail in your presentation. I was wondering if you could share those 6 strategies with us. I think it's a really wise and simple list that can be pretty impactful. Maybe set the table by giving us those, and then Dr. Smalls, I'd love to hear your thoughts on some of these.
Okay. Well, the reason that it went long, and I would say that because as we're talking about leaders, I kind of got off and I talked about growth, and I just kind of led with a quote that people are anxious to improve their circumstances, but unwilling to improve themselves. So therefore, they remain bound. And so a lot of times, in order for us, we go to conferences and we attend these webinars and we want to do all this great stuff. We want somebody to give us all these great things, but we are unwilling to change ourselves. So sometimes you got to kind of look in that mirror and figure out that I need to be the person that changed, because people are only going to rise to the level of my leadership. So that kind of took me to a place, and I was just kind of feeling the audience there. But the 6 keys is actually, I build a little house with it because, again, I'm a coach, so there's no place like home. So when you have the home field advantage, everything is on your side. So we're trying to create a culture that, one, I ask that if your school, when your staff or your students walk in your building, are they the home team or the visiting team? You know, what's the score? Are they coming in? Is it the third quarter, first quarter? You know, how many timeouts do you give them? Like when you think about sports, if you the away team, if you was privileged enough to participate, usually the visit team locker is not good. Like the seats are hard, the bathroom is not good, and when you come out against the fans that's not yours, they might be throwing things and yelling all kind of stuff. But we don't know, there's a lot of students that when we walk in our building, they are the visiting team because the teachers are already yelling, people are already throwing things. So you got to make sure that your environment, your culture is the home side. All right. So the first thing to do, the strategies to make your culture home, is one, time. The biggest strategy, time is a key word, keys time, right?
Mm.
Because timing is everything, right? Because you could do something at the right time and you could do a lot of things at the wrong time, right? So time is really, really important in how you prioritize your time. And a big part of time, one principle that we use is the Pareto principle, is the 80-20 rule. And basically that principle, if you ever read it, it really did a research on a hotel that had 300 and something complaints, and whether the internet's bad, blah, blah, blah. And they was trying to fix everything and they wasn't moving. And when they came up with this principle that if I prioritize and I put things in order, what's number 1 through 10, if I focus on number 1 and 2, then I usually can fix 80% of the problem. Okay. And if you think about that in the real world, 20% of our staff is creating 80% of the problem that we need to fix. So sometimes when you're talking about time, you may not need to focus on all 10 things that right now are all 100 staff members. Maybe I need to focus on this 1 and 2 because that can correct 20, that 20% could correct 80% of the issue. 20% of the students are creating 80% of the problems that we have, right? 20% of the drivers is creating the bad traffic that we have when we go outside. I mean, so 20% sometimes. And if we really narrow down and focus on those 2 things, it'll change everything. So that's a quick one for time. The next stanza is communication, and that's relatability, and that's learning personality types, just because communication is everything. I can't influence someone who can't hear me, right? And if you think about the old Verizon, I think it was Verizon commercial where people say, "Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?" And oftentimes we go through our day in that same fashion because our students don't hear us. The faculty don't hear us. And sometimes we get angry and we change how we say it. And we're frustrated because they're not getting the way. And so communication is huge. And you cannot build a relationship with anybody that you can't communicate with. All right. You can't teach somebody that don't trust you. Right. So you can't coach somebody that don't trust you. So the first level of coaching is getting that kid to want to be with you and do what you ask them to do. They got to believe in you. And then that leads into the next one, which is confidence. Right. So now that I can communicate with you, you trust me, you love me. Now I give you confidence to go and perform. So even when those staff, like you mentioned, may have thought that they're not leaders, now because of the time that I put in with them, the communication that we have, now I'm giving you the confidence to go out and fulfill the mission that we both agreed on, or the vision that we're going toward. So that's time, that's communication, that's confidence, and then we start going up to the fourth one is energy. It takes energy, right? Energy is everything. And then energy is also contagious, both positive and negative, right? So there's a book out, The Energy Bus, talks about joy. They got the 10 principles on the energy bus. It just talks about not being that energy vampire. So those are terms that I use a lot. Say, hey, we don't need any vampires today because that vampire could suck the life out of the building. So just make sure that your energy is the positive side, is being contagious, because even when problems happen, energy can kind of help it move. It takes a little energy. And then we also go to encouragement, because we got to have it. And then lastly, empathy. just because the empathy is big. And I wish I could have got to this point, is that because a lot of times we try to create a lot of little U's. All right. Is sometimes you can't force somebody to be a Jason, right? We can't force someone to be a Dr. Freeman Smalls because the biases and the experiences and the things are different. So if you don't have that empathy, you're gonna automatically assume that that person is supposed to do this, and you're not gonna understand why this kid can't take this hood off his head. You're not gonna understand why this leader or why this teacher is struggling to get to work on time. So if you don't have the empathy to know that she's trying to drop off this, like if you don't have the empathy, it's gonna be hard to have that culture because it's a give and take world. So that's it in the quick version.
So good. So I'm going to type these in. I've got time or timing for one, two, communication, three,
Right.
confidence, four, energy, five, encouragement, and six, empathy.
Correct.
And that's such a great list, both for working with adults, but also as it pertains to how we work with children as well, with youth. Dr. Smalls, which of those, any of those resonate with you? What thoughts do you have on that list?
Absolutely, absolutely. Definitely love it. Love it, Mr. Thomas. Love it. The communication, confidence, energy, empathy, and time. All of those are closely aligned with Perry Career Academy's 4 C's. And that is culture, commitment, consistency, and communication. It highlights the interconnectedness element of effective leadership. And so Dr. Young, our principal, pretty much brought that to us, and that's what we do. We look at those 4 C's and make sure that we are focused on culture, our commitment to our customer. We definitely make sure that we communicate. We have to communicate with our students, our faculty, our staff, our parents. That is very, very, very important that we do that. So those things are very important, and just being consistent. I talked about that. So we establish trust. This is my definition of trust. We establish trust by being consistent in our behavior. That means doing what you say you're going to do, being where you say you're going to be, and so we can give you some grace. We give the students grace. We all need grace. So we're gonna do that as we work together as a team. So the PCA's 4 C's complement those principles he talks about by emphasizing the holistic approach of leadership, where culture reflects that shared vision that we have, shared vision to commitment. That commitment ensures that focus that we have. Consistency, it builds trust. And the communication connects us as a community. We need that. We need to be able to talk to one another. We need to be able to have conversations with each other about hard things, because it does get hard sometimes. And so together, the framework creates a resilient and supportive environment, just fostering that collaboration and shared responsibility and growth for all of us, and not being afraid to just come and talk about it. Just come and talk about it, pulling each other to the side in love, because this work does get hard. We're talking about students with challenges as we navigate our own challenges. That's hard, but we can do hard things.
Absolutely. This is so good. And I love these good alliterative lists. They're so useful. Dr. Smalls, I'm going to stick with you for a minute. I have
Mhm.
heard in discussion with you, I want to get into a little more specifics now. I've heard you talk about the challenge of student transitions, transitioning from one school, graduating from one school to the next, elementary to middle, middle to high school, and then the transition from student into the adult world, post-secondary as well. Those transitions are always particularly challenging, and we see, a lot of challenges creep into there. I've heard you talk a little bit about the overlap and the influence that leadership can have in assisting transition. And I was wondering if you could elaborate a little bit on that, because I think that's such an important, specific marker that we're really trying to help every student move towards their next transition stage. How does leadership help with that?
Well, student transition in non-traditional and alternative setting like the Perry Career Academy, of course, is challenging, but it also can be transformative as well. Uh, when guided by intentional leadership, you got to be intentional. We have to do some things on purpose. That's just the truth of the matter. Leadership just kind of ensures that transition, whether the student is into a new academic environment, which 80 to 90% of our students every year will be new to that environment, or re-engaging in education after being out for a little while, or preparing for post-secondary or the military or the world of work, or just to become a business owner, entrepreneur. That smooth and successful transition is what we are focused on. So we create, as leaders at our school, we create a warm and welcoming environment for those students. That's very, very important. That inclusiveness in our school culture where students feel valued and supportive. And whatever it is that they need, some such initiatives at the PCA include our clothing closet, where if our students are cold or they need additional clothing items, they need food, we have all of those things available at our school, so we'll be able to support them. We have childcare available for those students who may very well be parents. We also have job opportunities for our students as well at our school as well. But that is very important, that students know where they can get help. That is really, really key to everything that we do. But what's more is the clear system of communication. And that is done through that leadership, establishing that structured onboarding through our mentor and our mentee program. So each student is assigned a mentor, and that is your person that you go to for everything. So we make sure that the mentor have all the information that they need. That's that personalized support that we're giving to the student. And it's not just the mentor. We have our student engagement specialists who are there to help, to make sure that we're dealing with any issues that the students may have that maybe the mentor cannot navigate. Through our counselors, also our social worker as well, and graduation coach. So we're so blessed to be able to have that. But all of that build that trusting relationship. So when a student transitions to post-secondary, it is our hope that they know that they can always come back to us and ask us questions, and that they can feel free to know where they can get some help. So that empowers our students. And we don't want them to be afraid. They've been through a lot already. So that transition is while it's major, as leaders, we know that. And when we have that information, it is our responsibility to do something about that and to continue to improve that as leaders. So it's ongoing evaluation of those things that we need to put in place so that we can better support the student in that transition, whether that's coming to us and staying a little while or moving on to the next level of their life, be it post-secondary, work, military, or entrepreneurship.
I love it. Real quick, is your mentorship model, is it a one-to-one mentor relationship?
No. Each of our students, each of our teachers, mentors, they are assigned at least 20 to 25 students that they are mentoring on a daily
Got it.
basis.
So
And so,
adult mentor with 20 to 22 students. Okay, nice.
yes, yes, yes. And pretty much on a daily basis, they may have around 5 to 7 students that they are working with every day. And so our school is a little different in that we are a virtual school online, and our student on our main campus, they are required to come to campus 1 day per week on our main campus. But as I mentioned before, we do have 9 satellite campuses as well, where those students come to school 4 days per week.
That's phenomenal. Doc, Lamar,
Yes,
thoughts?
sir. The thing that kind of resonates with me when we're talking about transition is funny thing. It's funny story, and y'all excuse me. You know, I go off the strip, so I'm gonna get in trouble later. But I was speaking with some individuals, and we was talking about transitioning and how close the culture is to creating a ease of transition. And I had to use the example. I said, you think about sometimes when you go out of town and you go out of town you go somewhere, you go to a foreign city, the first thing you really want to do is put your bags down. Like if you go to the hotel, if I could get to where I'm going to stay, and I know I put my bags down, now I'm ready to transition, and we could go out and we could do all the excursions, we could go out and do the city. But it's hard if I get off the plane, my bags are still in the Uber, and you saying let's go get on these ATVs. I'm not gonna have the same amount of fun in that transition. So what she said, the culture is about creating a place where your students feel at home. They can come and let their hair down. They could come and put their bags down. So I know that when I get there, I can put my bags down. I'm safe, that I always got somewhere to go back to. So I'm willing now to go out here and take this step and adventure and see what's out here in the world, or see what's happening back in this traditional school, because I know I have a home kind of, I've put my bags down. So it's a little easier for me to go out. And I just thought it was funny because the more she talked about the culture and everything that they're doing, and we have a lot of things that we have to do too, because you have to kind of mold it for each child. It's kind of hard to try to push all kids in one door, one box. So you have to kind of do a lot of different things to reach a lot of different kids. The world is changing now, so we got to be able to adjust and change with it. So you got to be able to do that, but ultimately you got to be able to create a relationship and have that culture where kids trust you, and it's easy to transition from there. And that's the same thing with all of us, because we all are transitioning from young adults to more mature adults to when your knees and stuff start hurting, and when you can't run with the athletes anymore, you transitioning, so you learn how to adapt, but you could always deal with it because you have somewhere to put your bags down.
I love it. That's so wise. It made me think, I didn't even realize I was doing it at the time. People that know me, my friends that are close to me, they know my greatest joy in life is just sitting down, um, having a beverage or having some food and just talking. Just here, like I will ask you questions and keep you talking as much as I can. And in my office as a school psych, I always made sure I had just some sitting chairs. Just so like sometimes they were those like folding camping chairs, just something that was kind of unique in the corner off to the side. And that was the space where you could come in, put your bags down. We're just going to sit down and we're just going to visit. We're just going to sit and take a load off for a minute. And I would have so many students that just wanted to come in and just sit in the chair and metaphorically put their bags down for a minute and then they recharge, they can go out. I love it. It's so fun. I want to go through, I think we have enough time. We may go just a couple minutes over the hour, but I want to give you the opportunity to share some thoughts and maybe some practical strategies around a term that both of you have either used directly or spoken kind of in conjunction with, and that's the term of intentionality. It gets used a lot, sometimes to the point of maybe overuse, like a lot of important terms. And so I would love to share some practical strategies that any educator could apply to try to become more intentional in applying some of these skills. We've had an abundance of incredible ideas and lists. So now I want to get practical, and we could just go back and forth for one or two rounds. But see if you'd be willing to share any practical strategies you might recommend for educators to be more intentional around some of the things we've talked about. Let's go Dr. Smalls first, and then we'll go Lamar.
Well, as I stated before, being intentional is about doing things on purpose. We have to do it with great intention, making sure that we're doing those things on purpose. And one would definitely be the reflective practice, creating a space for regular reflection. And sometimes that's hard to do as you go throughout the day. And, if you're like us, we're growing, and we're growing some more. So with that, we have to find time for that reflective practice with our teachers, with our students, and really identify those students and really hone in on them, or faculty member, and hone in and really, let's do that check in. Let me go and check and see how so and so is doing. Just taking a few minutes just to evaluate, where they are, what's going on, what went well, what are the challenges, what do you need support in, and also, what is your goal? What is your goal? What do you see yourself from, even from this position here, in that evaluation and that assessment? But everybody wants to know that they matter. And clearly with that intention, as a leader, that's awesome. That's important to be able to do that. But what's more is building that relationship too, because once you set in and you check in with folks, you focus on that time to connect. And so we can get more out of people when they know that they're being seen. And I see you. I see you. I understand you. So that's very, very important with that reflective practice and building that relationship. I can count on you. And one of the great things about Perry Career Academy, beyond our climate and culture, we already had that there where we connect with one another and we talk to one another, and sometimes we have to talk to one another about some hard things, because we're human, and life is just doing what it does, right? It's happening all around us, and it's difficult sometimes to articulate, and so sometimes others can articulate that, but that's really just being back to that authenticity that I talked about earlier, that being open to that, and also just encouraging the teammates to come on in, let's talk about it, because once I see you, we can get some things done. We can get some things done because I care about you, and I'm going to go to bat for you too.
I love it. Really, really powerful. Lamar.
All right, I'm going to give you the plan, right? I'm going to give you a real growth plan. So be ready. We got 6 things, all right, that I can almost guarantee that you will grow, right? So 6 things, be ready to write, all right? And you got to understand now, growth is not automatic, right? Because it's not just going to happen. So you won't get good just because you showed up, right? So you have to be intentional. So intentionality is part of it. You have to specifically say, I'm going to get better. I know that I have to get better. So that's not one of the ones, but that's the self assessment that you got to start off. You got to understand that I need to get better, make that confession. But number one, first thing you got to do, okay, make the commitment to grow. Make the commitment. All right. Number two, make that commitment public. Put it on, say it online, because now you post it to prove it. Tell somebody, send an email. This is what I'm going to do. All right. So I made the commitment. I'm going to make that commitment public. All right. That way you can't take it back. Okay. Number three. All right. You got to identify the areas that you want to grow in with that. And one, I like to say a area of attitude and an area of skill, right? What skill are you going to add? Attitude, because it's just, you got to want to do it. So you can't just say, I'm going to lose weight. So you got to be a little bit more specific. So identify that area. All right. Then number four, here we getting close to the meat now. Number four, invest 1 hour in that area. 1 hour preparing for it, researching it, finding it, practice it, reflect on it. All right. Dr. Freeman Smalls mentioned that already. So we're going to do it. We're going to practice it, right? I'm going to get ready for it. I'm going to research it. Then I'm going to reflect on it. So I got it 1 hour, all right, a day. All right. Then number five, we got to invest 1 hour in writing something, the reflection, just 1 hour. All right. Maybe you're like me that we can't write all these paragraphs, but I could jot. I could put words down that help me remember things, right? At least 1 hour, okay? A week. I ain't say a day, 1 hour a week, just kind of jotting something down. And sometimes those things that you're preparing and practicing and reflecting, you'll jot that stuff down, all right? And then number six, you share it with somebody. So I'm going to share my growth with somebody. All right. Now, this is also a secret little thing in the bush, their strategy. If I share it with Jason and he's not excited about my growth, then that means Jason is not in my circle. I need to find me another circle that someone is going to share the excitement that I have with growth. But if you could do those 6 things, I promise you, you'll grow.
I think I got them all. Tell me if that's right. Make the commitment to grow, make that
Absolutely.
commitment public, identify the areas you want to grow in, potentially attitude and skill, invest 1 hour in that area learning, and then invest an hour a week in writing or reflection on it. and then share it with somebody.
There you go.
That's like that's a
There you
um,
go.
fourth quarter speech from Coach T. I
Good
love it.
job, Coach T.
Yes.
This has been awesome. We are about out of time, but I am so grateful. Both of our panelists are just powerhouses, fountains of knowledge. But what I really appreciate is the authentic passion behind both your messages. I'm going to put up while you're talking. I'm going to put up contact information in case anybody wants to reach out. But I want to thank you. The relationship piece is huge. I want to do a part two with both of you where we dig into relationships. It's something we're very passionate about organizationally. We have a concept we call surrendering the one up that's all about intentionally communicating value to the students we work with, the grown-ups that are around us. But with the time we have left today, what I would love is to have you both respond to this question, which is, what is giving you hope right now in education? What is a current source of hope for you in education? And let's start with Lamar, and then we'll hear from Dr. Smalls. And while you're speaking, I'm going to put up contact information that's looping through.
Okay. Thank you, sir. The what's giving me hope now is just joining groups. And I would say if you are not in another group, right? Because sometimes you just got to get outside your building and get with some other um, counterparts that feel the same way that you feel. And just being a part of the Georgia Alternative School Association and being a part of the National Alternative School Association, just like you said, sitting down, eating some lunch and just having that conversation with someone that has the same purpose that you have ignites you, and it gives you an opportunity to go back and really revisit what you're doing back home. So just actually getting out and being with other people, man, that gives hope that there are good people that really still do value our kids. I know sometimes we can kind of get cloudy and it seems like it's all political and everybody got all these different opinions, but there are some awesome people that are still passionate about bringing value to our youth.
Love it. Thank you. Dr. Smalls.
Hmm. Well, what gives me hope in education right now is the resilience and the potential of both our students and our teachers, especially in the non-traditional and alternative education setting like Perry Career Academy and other alternative education programs in schools around the country. I see students who have faced incredible challenges re-engage with learning and redefining what success looks like for themselves. Um, and that's just, makes me happy because their determination to persevere, even in the face of all the obstacles, just remind me daily of the transformative power of education. And on a broader level, the increase in recognition that of the alternative education as a critical component of education gives me hope as well. As a member of the NAEA board, and the 2024 inaugural exemplary practices cohort, I see educators and leaders from across the country working tirelessly to ensure that our students, regardless of their circumstances, have access to a great education and equitable learning opportunity. That fuels me, that gives me optimism. And so that shared commitment that we have amongst all of us makes me feel very, very proud to keep going. It gives me the fuel to keep going, even though it's rough. But I do know that we can do hard things, and together we can help to build those pathways to success for all of our students.
I love it. Thank you. The thing that gives me hope is I feel so almost spoiled that I get to collaborate with the people that I get to. My friend Robin in Alabama just popped in and said hello. I was so happy to see her on here. I was in Mississippi earlier this week training a group of counselors and social workers in person, and called Robin, who's in one state over, as I was driving to the airport, and we collaborated on some things. And then I hopped on a call with Dr. Smalls and Lamar earlier this week and collaborated around some of these ideas around leadership. And I just feel so fortunate. There's so many great educators out there that really are committed. I'm going to circle back to the statement that was shared at the beginning, that are constantly asking, and how are the children? And these are great leaders, and these are quiet leaders in many cases. And I just feel fortunate that I continue to meet great people that I can connect with, that I can text with, that I can talk with, and you all inspire me. So just want to conclude by thanking, let's give a huge round of applause to our panelists. Thank you so much. You absolutely brought your A games. And this was recorded if anybody wants to share it. You both have shared some links. You both represent the NAEA. It's linked there on the page right now. Dr. Smalls, do you want to mention anything? I'm guessing that you would love to have more membership in the NAEA if anybody's contemplating joining.
Yes, absolutely. Definitely the NAEA, but also GAAE as well. That's the Georgia Alternative Association, Education Association. We would love for you to join as well. And also any of the other associations throughout the Region 4. And that's to include Florida, South Carolina, North Carolina, Bermuda and Puerto Rico, Mississippi and Alabama. So that region is really big. We have a big region for Region 4. So we encourage you to join the National Alternative Association as well, and participate. Definitely you can learn a lot, and definitely able to glean a lot of information. So definitely join us. You can take that information there, send me an email, let us know what you thought about what we shared here today.
Thank you. And Lamar, I'm guessing you would echo the sentiments, particularly within your great state of Georgia.
Absolutely. I also just want to add that you don't have to be in non-traditional schools or alternative schools to benefit from those conferences. Because we're actually pushing to get it a certification through the NAEA to get it. And also I'm working on it here in my state to where a lot of first year teachers need to go through the non-traditional alternative schools just because it gives you an opportunity to develop that trust, that relationship, those key components that'll make you a great teacher in the end. I'm doing some things, and hopefully that helps turn education a little bit, because right now people don't see 30 years anymore. 30 years is a long time. So we got to
Yes, it
kind of go
is.
back to the old school, to where those teachers really love those kids, and then 30 years will kind of fly by. So if you're not a part of an alternative school or non-traditional, don't feel like you can't join. There's some great information that's being there that's not only for those schools. So we really want to expand that and just be an education conference. We just have those titles, but again, titles don't control us. So we just, that don't stop the passion.
Amen. What a great endorsement.
Well
I
said.
Huge thank you to our panelists. Huge thank you to all our attendees that showed up today. Thank you so much for making a great chat experience. You had lots of great insight and comments. Hope you all are going to have a great holiday break coming up here in these next few weeks. And I'm going to play us out